and educational like that is huge. We sell out every year, and people could leave with so much information that they didn't realize that like 60 years ago to 70 years ago, you put the bees in the box, you put them in the field, and they made honey.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's just so much science into it, and the advancement of different types of technology. You have people coming out with boxes that are heated, so the bees make it over the winter time, and you have people that are coming out with electronic devices that automatically pump the honey completely out of the box. And you even have it on the industrial level where they're pumping in feeds to the bees so they don't have to go out in the field to make honey.
Yeah.
But they just bring in the sugars pumped right to the boxes, and they turn that right into honey. So there's so much more than just we got bees and we put them out and they make honey anymore. So I think there's just so much more out there that I don't think people really see unless you go to these seminars and clubs and organizations, even in your local area.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Oh, my gosh. You were saying earlier with all of the new technological advances, and this occurred to me, and I know that it's probably poking the beehive with the stick, as it were, but that new beehive that they were talking about all over the place and people were reposting all over their Facebook with the spigot on one end and everything, I'm sure you've seen that.
Oh, the flow hive?
That's the one, the flow hive. Yeah.
Yes.
What's your thought on that? Being that you're a beekeeper, I've seen all kinds of opinions, but all I know is that it looks really cool, but I don't have an official opinion because I don't have bees. So.
I believe it was invented.
I was thinking about getting one.
Well, it was invented by a gentleman in Spain in 1940. So that's how old that system is.
Oh wow!
It's nothing new. That's the one thing I don't think people understand, that there's in fact 7 different models of that. Everything from a tin system to a heating element system, and one that's extremely cheap out of China, of course.
Of course.
So I mean, it's been around for a very long time. I don't know. I think it's personally, I like getting into the beehive. I like looking at my girls, seeing the vast colors that they have, and seeing the different kinds of honey that they're bringing in, the different kinds of pollen. And I think it takes away from the communication between the keeper and the bees a little bit. Is it bad? I don't know. If you harvest the honey too early, it ferments in the jars and your honey goes bad. If you're not inspecting the hive and taking it off and just pumping honey, you're not cleaning that equipment very good. Your bees could get sick. But, the cost of one, I think they're like $400.
Yeah, they were pretty pricey.
I think it's going to produce you 30 pounds to maybe 60 pounds of honey. And I produce 30 to 60 pounds of honey out of my bees for $20. So I mean, I don't see the, to turn on a tool to make the honey run out was cool. I'll probably end up getting one from a garage sale or from Craigslist or something after somebody's like, wow, this is actually a lot of work. But, I don't think there's anything bad with them other than the fact that for $400, man, I can produce way more honey than I can than that flow hive with just regular old aspects of honey and beekeeping.
So
well, yeah,
end result assessment is that it might be useful, but it's probably pricey for what you get.
Well, I think it's expensive. I mean, I'm not, like a honey box is $20.
Yeah.
Right, for $40, I could put foundation in and put this box on my bees and produce 30 pounds of honey. And this box is almost the same thing, except for I just keep cracking and tapping the honey out for $400. And
yeah, but what if I live in a major metropolitan area like I do, and that's pretty much the only way I could ever think about keeping a beehive?
Well, then it'd probably be a good thing for you if you don't mind spending the money.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I didn't think there's anything bad with it. Heck, I teach people how to live on the 4th and 5th story balconies in New York, and we build beehives out of hibachi grills.
Oh wow,
that is really cool.
I mean, I can build a beehive almost out of anything. I mean, when you're working with orphans in places where you're just grabbing stuff out of a junkyard, so they can pollinate their food and produce a product so they can make some income for their tribes, cities, and townships. You use everything you can. So, I mean, cutting a log in half and hollowing it out and putting bees in it is the oldest beekeeping in the world, and it dates back hundreds of years. And they used a log. The Egyptians used to dig holes in a wall and then cover the wall with a piece of reeds. And then the bees would fill up these tubes inside the wall, and you remove the combs and stuff out of the tubes. So, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily what you can use to keep bees in your area. It's about how in depth. When I talk about beekeeping and even mead making, it's like swimming in a pool. You know, you put your feet in, you played around, your feet flapped around a little bit, and you bounced around a little bit. Next thing you know, you're hanging on the edge and you're to the deep end. Now you're swimming, you're underwater, you're doing more. I'm going to hit the high dive. It goes from there. That you want to go all the way down to Costa Rica and jump off the cliffs, or do you want to go down to the barrier reef and scuba dive 200 feet down, or do you just like keeping your feet in the water and flapping around in the kiddie pool? I mean, that's in beekeeping and mead making. It's how in depth, what you want to buy. If you want to buy a flow hive for $400, you're more than welcome to. That's almost like buying scuba gear and going to the barrier reef to spend a day scuba diving. That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But, you know, it's just what you want to put into it, I guess.
We probably need to have a show on urban beekeeping, maybe. That might be fun.
Absolutely. There's a lot of urbans that would want to keep bees.
Well, yeah, I know.
I hope they do.
There's a lot of that. It's an on the rise thing. There's a guy in France who literally that's all he's about is urban beekeeping, and he actually runs a meadery with nothing but urban bees. So, he's got all these citified bees that he's using to produce his honey for his mead. Yeah, they're city bees, citified bees.
Well,
but
actually, you know what? I think in Ontario, anyway, the city bees would be healthier than the country bees because the city's not allowed to put pesticides on the lawns.
So no Monsanto,
and the farmers are still, and the farmers are still using. I mean, we have to use things like nematodes and other exciting things. We're not. It's not legal to put to just spray your lawn. I think maybe they might have some exceptions for like golf courses or something because it's how they make their money. But you're not allowed to just even the city park's not allowed to spray the lawns.
Wow.
Well, it's not about necessarily the pesticides and fertilizers. When you're in the city, you have traffic, you have emissions from cars, you have industrial factories. There's a lot that intakes to it. As the population grows and we lose countryside, urban beekeeping is getting larger. It's not necessarily bad. It's not necessarily good. It's just about how you want to keep the bees and what you want to do.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we've got next week. We're talking to Mike. Do you know Bob Slants?
No, I don't.
You may have run across him online. He's an urban beekeeper. He's in New York, and he's going to be on the show next week. This is kind of beekeeping month. We're also going to talk to, if I can pin him down, we're going to talk to Kirk Jones at St. Ambrose in Michigan. So
Michigan, yeah,
yeah,
nice.
They got a nice setup there. But it's just really neat. I mean, that you can make a beehive out of anything. So, okay, for those out there that don't know, and that would include me, because the only beehives I'm really somewhat familiar with are your traditional square, slider boxes.
Big white boxes.
The big white boxes, yeah. Or in Kirk's actually got an old-timey conical skep, which is really cool. Is it called a skep when they're like that, or is that something else? I'm not getting my terminology. Is it skeep or skep?
Skeep, yes. A skeep.
Okay.
And you're talking about the woven basket.
Yeah, he's got an original one that he picked up somewhere.
Yeah, super cool, man.
Yeah, you gotta go see their bee garden,
cool.
dude. And if you get to Michigan, you gotta go up there. He's literally like 30 minutes from where I grew up, and and they've got, well, I mean, they're one of the biggest keepers of bees, I guess, on the eastern U.S. They do a lot of pollinating up and down the coast. And then, of course, he's got the meadery.
Pollinator. Yeah.
Oh, he's a huge pollinator, yeah. And then there's also the meadery and winery, and I think they're also opening a distillery, last I heard. So, he's up to lots of different things. But it's well worth the trip. Yeah, it is. It's well worth the trip, though. It's a good place, and their meat is excellent, and so is their wine. But yeah, he has a one of the woven, conical, old timey, beehives that you just don't see anymore. But you said earlier that you can make a beehive out of almost anything. So I'm kind of curious, what's the weirdest thing you ever made a beehive out of?
A refrigerator.
No way. Really?
I think the refrigerator. Yeah, the refrigerator itself. The deep box that's on the refrigerator, we put in, I think it had 9 tops in it, and they made comb from about 3/8 of an inch from the top of the refrigerator to all the way to the bottom. And then there was holes drilled up into the freezer part, and the freezer was the honey production part that was on the top. So it was made to try to use in Alaska to help winterize the bees more, because it was a thicker insulated refrigerator. And the gentleman put it in his garage. He drilled a hole through the side of the garage. We ran a tube from the hole to the refrigerator so the bees would go in and out of the tube. And then they would just stay in the refrigerator, where you could open up the door, slide out the huge top bars. I mean, the comb was, I would say, like 5 foot long.
Whoa.
And look at them, and just kind of, they were on like a retractable rail, like a rolling desk drawer.
Ah.
So you could just slide them out and look at them and slide them back in, and you'd open the upper freezer where the ice and stuff would be at, and that was the honey production. I mean, I've made some beehives out of hibachi grills and Weber grills, where you're sitting out on your deck and your neighbor probably wouldn't let you have the bees. And so you would just kind of lift the lid open, act like you're grilling steaks with a veil on, and right, you'd have the bars and stuff in there.
Oh, that's so funny.
But let me ask you, I've had a Weber grill outside of my house for 15 years, and there's never been a beehive in it. What is it that I have to do to attract bees to the area where I want to have a hive?
Oh, well, there's 2 ways to do that. There's bee tracking, actually.
Bee
You
tracking?
catch a honeybee, you glue dental floss that's 8 inches long between its wings on the haunch of its back, and you can follow that beehive bee watching the streamer and just kind of track it down. Some bees will travel up to 2 miles, so it's to give you general direction. But if you have lots of bees in your area, like a beekeeper that their hive swarms every year, or I put on a list on Craigslist, hey, if you have swarms, let me know. I'll come and get them. I'll knock them off your porch. I'll take them off your trees. And I would mark that on a map in my city. And then I kind of located that I was getting a lot of calls in this part of the city every year. So I started putting swarm traps up. And a swarm trap is a box made to catch bees. Mm-hmm. And you put lemongrass oil in it, which is the smell or pheromone that a queen releases in swarming. And so basically, I put that stuff in that area. If a beekeeper's losing these bees on a regular basis, I catch them. Or if there's a bee tree there that swarms 2 to 3 times a year, I'm getting the bees free out of a tree, and I just kind of catch those in my swarm trap bucket and take them home and propagate them. And you just use lemongrass oil.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting. I saw a documentary once about the brother, I forget his name, the beekeeper brother, in
Brother Adam. Brother Adam.
Brother Adam, thank you. I saw a Brother Adam documentary, and he would go in and get a queen, and they would ship those queens all over the place, and then apparently the queen would make a hive. How, I don't know, but is that something that makes any sense to you?
Well, not unless you already have bees, because queens can't eat They can't.
Right.
They don't feed themselves. So if you
Exactly.
ship me a queen and